sort of mix this question from a question we've also got from Ronald in Austria. Thank you, Ronald, for your question, because there's a continuing theme here about apostasy, the basis of hadith vis-a-vis the Holy Quran. And again, he asks a similar question about there are several hadith sayings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad which orders, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who orders to kill apostates and to also stone men and women that commit adultery. And again, this is, Azhar Saab, one of the common allegations. Salim Saab had said, yet its basis is not in Quranic law. Indeed, Quranic law actually came and qualified and indeed relieved this punishment and actually prescribed a different punishment for such crimes. But nevertheless, if we could just bring it back to this, far too often we see instances across the Muslim world where both these crimes are perceived as deserving of death.
Yes, well, there's an expression which we sometimes say that a dying man will also grab a brick, going down instead of grabbing something that can save his life. And in fact, this is what we see in most of these scenarios. There's nothing that gives them a precedent or a principle from the Quran. That's been clear, I think, throughout this program. There's nothing that shows them in the life of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that allows them even a concession to be taken that maybe in this case or in this circumstance he applied the law where, generally he was very lenient, he was, very inclined toward being merciful and compassionate. But here's a case where he definitely drew the line, and in every instance of this kind of case, he applied the law to the highest level of the law. But you take an example out of context, and it becomes the principle. And I think this is what many Muslims have done. You take one example, it could have been prior to the revelation of Surah An-Nur, and try to make that the principle of the Holy Quran, and people will begin, preaching and promoting this as if it's the law of the Holy Quran. Example comes to mind where a Muslim and a non-Muslim were arguing during the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and the case came before him. If you read the hadith that's presented by some Muslims, at the end of this tradition, Hazrat Omar heard the decision of the Holy Prophet, which was, you should not have taken the position of hitting this man or admonishing this man. You should have, more or less allowed him to say what he was saying. What was he saying? He was saying that Moses, Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, is superior to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And of course the Muslim responded by saying what? I believe that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is Khatamun Nabiyyin. He is the greatest of all time. He is the most beloved messenger. And the Jew then turned around and disagreed. No, I said Moses is the greatest. Well, he didn't end with verbs. He went into physical attack and hit the man.
So the Muslim
hit this Jewish man for insulting, blaspheming his prophet. And when the matter came before the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he ruled in favor of the Jew.
On what basis?
On the basis that you should not say something that more or less is going to offend his sensibilities. This is a civil order we're in. Now, he lived amongst Arabs and who were not Muslim, Jewish, or Christian. They had their own traditional religions. He had Jews in the society, he had Christians, and he had Muslims. He had to maintain peace and order. So in this case, he was telling him the principle of order and civility far outweighs the offense you may have felt through your own personal belief system. That's a matter between, again, man and God. Don't bring it into civil affairs, which leads to this kind of disruption, disorder, and bloodshed. But the striking thing is, in one tradition you'll find being quoted that at the end of this tradition, Hazrat Omar, who heard this, disagreed and went about and he killed this man for having said this thing in this blasphemous situation. So now he took the law into his hands, and he becomes the principle whereby the punishment is not being meted out by government or by the Sharia, by himself. The Holy Quran gives a beautiful principle that goes against this, where in Surah Al-Ahzab, chapter 33, verse number 37, it may be 36 in the Quran, which doesn't have Bismillah as the first verse. It says, "And it behooves not a believing man or a believing woman, when Allah and His Messenger have decided a matter, that they should exercise their choice in the matter concerning them." So here it's very clear. If the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has laid down certain principles and made judgments, and he's decided certain legal issues, no Muslim has the right to come behind that and to take the matter into his own hands and say, well, here's a tradition that seems to go against the Holy Quran, where Salim Sahib has said the Quran has given a very clear, specific guidance on this matter. The Sunnah has given us a specific and clear guidance on this matter. But you have Muslims who are still saying, well, we don't emphasize this. This is what we're going to emphasize, and it creates these kind of scenarios and these problems. So we have to really pray, and we have to hope that the Muslims will come to their senses. And in a lot of these cases, where they're taking justice into their own hands with no justification, we as Muslims are being, portrayed in a very negative light in nations where we're trying to show them the beauty of Islam. And they say, is this the beauty of your Islam? You want me to follow your laws and leave my laws where, here's a judge will tell you that in England now, they're not going to practice the laws that were during the age of Inquisition. We've gone far past that, but it seems you want us to go back to that medieval period under Islamic code. Therein lies the big problem that we see hidden beneath this attack on a few innocent souls. It's the tenor, it's the tone that's being established in the Muslim world by a segment, not all. And let's be just here. The majority of Muslims would probably feel as offended, as insulted as we do, considering these matters. But there's a segment that has completely, misinterpreted the Quran, the Hadith, the traditions to suit their own fancies, their own philosophies, and made it in fact into a religion, which is called in their eyes Islam, which in fact it's not.
We're just in the last few minutes of the program, Dr. Zaid. If I could just come to you. Ronald's asked various questions, and thank you, Ronald, for your different questions. But ultimately, in all that he's basing his questions on, he's quoted, for example, Bukhari, which was authentic Hadith, a book of Hadith. He's also quoted Muslim, again, which we as Ahmadi Muslims accept the 6 authentic, is included within the 6 books regarded as authentic. And then he uses those to justify that whilst he accepts the Ahmadiyya Muslim viewpoint, that there is no stoning to death in Islam for adultery, that apostasy is not punishable by death. He quotes 1 or 2 hadiths in support that no, actually, whilst you Ahmadi Muslims may believe this, hadith actually suggests this, just as a sort of final point, encompassing the basis of his questions. How would you respond to that?
We would simply say to Ronald that whenever you find a conflict in a principle between what the Holy Quran has said and what you find in any hadith, then the Holy Quran, which is the revealed word of God, which cannot change, has not changed, cannot change, then that takes precedence over this. So be very fair about it. If you read the Holy Quran first, the guiding principles will be found in the Holy Quran, and then the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, and then obviously if you find that there is a contradiction between a hadith and the Holy Quran, then you must consider the verdict of the Holy Quran as superior. There must be something that we have not understood or the relators have not understood in the relation of a particular hadith. So that is the principle always to be adopted. That is what the promised Messiah alayhi salam, the Masih and Mahdi, who came to remove all these misconceptions from Islam that had crept in, he has said that it is the Holy Quran which is the final verdict. So in all of these questions, even if you find it in the Sahih Sittah, then you must also consider what the Holy Quran says. And if the Holy Quran is explicit about these things, as have been clearly indicated by both of these 2 gentlemen, then we must always take the verdict of the Holy Quran as being final.
And with the word final, that will be the final comment, certainly in terms of the answers. Gentlemen, Jazakum.